Hey guys, 7WD Rocks here, and thank you for joining me on Saturday night's Kickout number 6. I have a lot of fun doing these. Also, if you want to go back and watch maybe some previous episodes, I have a playlist. I add each episode as soon as it goes up. I add the new episode, so you can go back and watch the other 5 episodes if you want to. And I did get new glasses, and if I keep, picking them back up, it's because I need to get them tightened better. So they've been slipping off a little. So if I keep touching my face, that's why. But yeah, hopefully I don't look too much like a nerd. But what I'm here to talk about on this episode of Saturday Night's Kickout, I'm here to talk about SummerSlam, Raw, Smackdown, NXT, TNA Wrestling, and probably more. So let's get right into it. Here I'm going to do a small, quick review of the big stuff that happened at SummerSlam. We had Dolph Ziggler win the Intercontinental Championship in a very good match. It was a great opener to SummerSlam. I really enjoyed it, and I think they did a great job. I think some stuff was kind of dumb how they did it, like Ziggler did his with the that famouser signature, the leg drop he does, and Miz hit the ground and popped back up and just no-sold it completely and hit a skull-crushing finale. That was the only thing I didn't like about the match. It looked cool at first, but I was thinking, why would Miz do that? He seems like a well worker. He seems, trained enough not to just no-sell a move. I don't know if they messed up on it, but great way to kick off SummerSlam. I really enjoyed it. And most importantly, Ziggler is Intercontinental Champion, and that's awesome. I think Ziggler is going to bring some prestige to that championship because, we know he goes out there every single night, goes out there and puts his freaking, butt, just works as hard as he can. He puts his butt on line. He freaking just entertains us. He steals the show every night. So that's awesome that he has a championship. We saw Paige win the Divas Championship on her birthday. I think she's 22, to be honest. I think she's 22. Correct me if I'm wrong. But she won it, so the championship is going back and forth. And so I don't really get what they're doing with the Divas Championship. It seems like AJ Lee and Paige are the only ones in contention for it, and maybe that could even go all the way to WrestleMania. Who knows? But, I forgot to mention, since this week I am starting school, I will not be able to it isn't, the first week of school isn't like the biggest, like, hardworking, week, but I got a lot of things to do, and I probably won't be able to watch. I'll be able to watch wrestling, but I probably won't be able to really get ready for the show and stuff. So next week I'll make a separate video about it. But next week I'm gonna do a Q&A. I will answer your questions on Saturday Night Kickout episode 7. And so send me your questions, comment here. I'll make a separate video telling you to comment, and you can leave your comments on any of my videos. Ask as many questions you want. Don't make it, too crazy, but ask, as many as you want. And I'll give you a shout out. I don't know what that would do for your channel because, I don't have the biggest channel in the world. But leave your questions if you have any questions that you want me to answer next week. Big Q&A. It's going to be my 3rd Q&A, I think. So if you don't want to ask a question that's already been asked, go back and watch my 2 Q&As. I'm sure you can find them pretty easily. But, moving on, we had, I'm looking at my notes because I forgot I was going to talk about Ambrose and Rollins, the lumberjack match. Oh, man, that was a great lumberjack match. I thought they did an awesome job. I thought it made, when you hear it was a lumberjack match, you're kind of disappointed, but they did a really great job. And I'll talk more about it during the match of the week. I'm not saying for sure that's the match of the week, in my opinion, but I'm going to talk about it more. And at SummerSlam, we saw Brock Lesnar conquer John Cena, and that match was, I've talked about it. Or I think I made a separate video over it. I think it was yesterday's video, to be honest. But Brock hit 16 German suplexes. He's a new WWE champion, and I will talk more about it later in the show. But moving on to Raw, so SummerSlam I thought was good. A lot of people said it wasn't as good as I thought. I gave it an A-, and that might have been too generous. But I did think SummerSlam was a very good show, and I really enjoyed it. So moving on, we had Raw. We had Nikki Bella basically say she doesn't need her sister, how she is in her shadow and all that stuff and all that garbage, and how she married Daniel Bryan for the fame and stuff, and she was just pissed off. And we saw Nikki Bella slap her own sister in the face. We saw Stephanie McMahon basically egging her on to do it. And I'm very excited to see this goes. I'm hoping at Night of the Champions it will be Nikki versus Brie. I think that will be a cool match to see. And so Nikki has turned on her sister, and that's not crazy, but it's something cool to see, and I hope they do a match. But if they do a match, and I said doo-doo, I'm so funny. they do a match at Night of Champions, they should really put some good storylines into it. Really invest, like the Authority versus Brie, how they invested in that. They really need to invest in that storyline. So, moving on, we have Lesnar received a new WWE Championship. Basically, it's the same exact WWE Championship they had, but the new logo. You know, the thinner, the lighter, slimmer W. It's basically just that. It looks like a boss title, and I am very excited that Brock Lesnar is the WWE Champion. At first, I was like, you know, you need to have the WWE Champion on every show. You need to have him on not every SmackDown, but every Raw. You need to have him on. But I see it now that they really can do it with. You know, they can really have Heyman step up to the plate and do promos every week, and it'll feel like Brock's still there. Because even when Brock's there, he doesn't talk much. You know, Heyman talks more. So I think it's fine that he's the champion, and I'm very excited to see where it leads. John Cena's already got his rematch at Night of Champions. He will be at Raw, John Cena, to address the WWE Universe. Ric Flair will be there, Shawn Michaels will be there, and Hulk Hogan will be there, I believe. I've been reading that those Hall of Famers, Ric Flair, Hogan, and Michaels will all be there. John Cena for sure, and Ric Flair, I believe, is starting off Raw, so that'll be cool. That'll be interesting to see Ric Flair actually do something meaningful, I hope. His last few appearances, he hasn't done much. Last week he was on Raw, and I really enjoyed it. He was with the Miz and Ziggler backstage. He talked to Randy Orton, and Randy Orton told him, you know, to get out of his face. But it seems like Flair is coming back to a more, you know, an active role in the WWE. So I think that's cool to see. Just don't make it pointless, and I'm fine with Ric Flair being there. Moving on, we had main event time, Rollins versus Ambrose in a match. It was the WWE Universe got to pick the stipulation. Now, I was fine with them picking the stipulation, but I wasn't fine with the options. You had option A, I think, was no disqualification. B was falls count anywhere, and C was no holds barred. It was switch. I'm sorry. No holds barred was A, falls count anywhere was B, and no disqualification was C. Basically, all of those mean the same exact thing. Now, falls count anywhere, yes, you can pin on the outside, but basically, no matter what you picked, I'm sure you would have gotten the exact same match. Because even though the choice was falls count anywhere, it was still, I think they had maybe 2 or 3 pins where they tried to do it on the outside. Maybe 2 or 3. I don't even remember that much. But this match was awesome. We saw, you know, a sit-out power bomb onto like 50, not 50, you know, like 5 chairs that were just insane. We had some big announcement table spots where Ambrose ran across the announcement table and tackled Seth Rollins. We saw dirty deeds. We saw Kane interfere. I really hate now that Kane interferes. His gimmick really bores me. The corporate demon crap, I don't know. But a awesome match, and we saw something I really did not expect to see. We saw Kane take off this table, and it showed there was concrete, just like concrete bricks, just on the just in like, you know, on a table. So it was like, wow, that's pretty crazy. A lot of people said that spot was really stupid, but I enjoyed it. Seth Rollins curb stomped him onto, you know, just that curb and the stones, the whatever, and it looked pretty brutal. It broke in a bunch of pieces. Some people said that was stupid, but it was cool to see. It really was. I thought it shows Dean Ambrose is filming a movie, so he's going to be out for a while, and I gotta say, Ambrose. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Ambrose is my favorite of the Shield by far. Since coming up from the split up, Dean Ambrose is, I seriously think, the most entertaining, and I really enjoy his matches. I enjoy his promos, and I wish he was getting as big as push as the other two. But he's gonna go film his movie, I'm guessing, and then come back and be better than ever. So, moving on from Raw, we got NXT, where it was an awesome match. If you didn't watch it, it was Kalisto and Sin Cara versus Sami Zayn and Adam Rose in the tag team tournament match. Whoever won moved on to the finals, and the match wasn't like amazing, but there is one spot where it's Kalisto. If you don't know who that is, that's like he's basically a young Rey Mysterio. This guy is freaking fast and entertaining to watch. Him and Sami Zayn had an exchange during the match where it was insane. Like, Kalisto did like a flip, like he acted like he was gonna flip onto the mat, you know, and he did a handstand and held it there, and it was just insane. He jumped backwards and caught Zayn with like a head scissors, and it was just crazy to see. It was such a cool exchange, and they did all this like fast stuff, and I would love to see Kalisto versus Sami Zayn in the near future. But we saw Sami Zayn and Kalisto pick up the win in the tournament. And so it's going to be the Vaudevillains, Simon Gouch and Aiden English, those crazy characters, versus Kalisto and Sin Cara. I do think the WWE has faith in Kalisto because they, if you notice the Ascension, the past 2 tag teams they've faced for the championships could possibly be Kalisto and Sin Cara, and then the other time it was Kalisto and El Local, which was Ricardo Rodriguez. But apparently they do have faith in this in Kalisto, and he's a great entertainer. He's not the biggest guy by any means. He's a young Rey Mysterio I would compare him to, and he is quick and his matches are entertaining and he can do some stuff I've never seen before. So definitely really like the Kalisto character. And Sin Cara, I like his character on NXT, how he's in tag matches. They haven't made him this, big, awesome breakout star, but he's doing his role, which I think it should have been in the first place. They shouldn't have brought him up to Raw so fast and had him do, act like he's this, greatest wrestler out of Mexico. But his role right now in NXT, if you don't know about it, is really entertaining, and I would definitely, watch some of his matches if you have the chance to. Moving on, we have this big thing. All right, so Kevin Steen recently tweeted out a picture, and it was him. I think he tweeted out today, to be honest, yesterday or today. He tweeted a picture of him with the shirt. It was like he was in wrestling gear. He had the tape around. He had I think like a tank top shirt, and it said "Fight" on it. And it was all black, and then we saw Prince Devitt alongside with him in face paint, not like his crazy characters, but he had like a Punisher type logo face paint and a star or like a heart right on his chest, and he had like a 6-pack just busted out, and they both looked awesome. I have been reading that they could possibly be tag team partners in NXT. Now think about that, Kevin Steen and Prince Devitt, tag team partners. I could see them beating the Ascension on their first night, so the Ascension can finally go to the main roster. Gives the Ascension some competition, but yeah, Steen and Devitt as a tag team, possibly, that is awesome. I would love to see that happen. And yeah, so that's a cool picture. Check it out if you haven't. Kevin Steen tweeted it, and so did Prince Devitt. He retweeted, I believe. And moving on, if you guys didn't see Journey to SummerSlam, it was the story of Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns, their journey to SummerSlam. I honestly thought it was going to be just how they, got prepared for the event, an hour special, how they got prepared for it and stuff. But it was literally from the beginning of their careers to SummerSlam. It was awesome to see. I really enjoyed Ambrose and Rollins' part because it showed their independent, Ambrose being CZW and Rollins being Ring of Honor. And you could see Triple H, Terry Taylor, and Rollins. It seemed like they weren't getting along. At one point in the documentary, it showed that Rollins looked like he could possibly they would have to let him go from WWE because he was just in this mindset, being in Ring of Honor, being a top star in Ring of Honor, that he was ready for WWE. Now, this brings up a lot of different topics. I honestly do think certain guys like that when they already come into WWE, when they sign with them. I will use Steen as an example. I will use Kenta. I will use Prince Devitt. All examples as you do need to know the WWE lifestyle. You do need to know how to do things their way. But I still think Steen, Devitt, Kenta, Rollins, when he came in, all of those guys, when they came in, they easily could have gone to the main roster, I think. Triple H, he has his way of saying, in the documentary it showed it's their way or it's, no way at all. He's not going to, he gave Rollins one last chance, I believe, in the documentary. He says that. He gave him one last chance. They talked, they had a long discussion, and they moved on from it. So that was great. But it looked like at one point Rollins was going to be gone from the company if he didn't need to realize that he's not ready. He needs to stay in NXT for a little while. But it's both sides are right. Triple H is right. Seth Rollins is right. There's stuff to work on for any wrestler, I believe, and then there's also times where they should be able to go up to the main roster. That's just how I feel. If you did not watch that Journey to SummerSlam, definitely watch it. It was really good, really entertaining, especially if you want to see their independent stuff. Excuse me, let me get a drink real quick. Excuse me, sorry about that. But moving on from. I did not watch Smackdown, I'm very sorry, but I didn't see really anything big happening. It seems like Orton and Reigns, their storyline's continuing. A lot of different storylines are continuing. So, moving on to TNA Impact Wrestling. We had Hardcore Justice this week. It was basically my thought process going into Hardcore Justice was we saw that crazy match where Seth Rollins and Ambrose really put their bodies on the line. They were doing crazy spots, the sit-out powerbomb on chairs, tackling each other off the announcement tables. He curb stomped them through freaking cinder block. Like, that's crazy. As a wrestling fan, you can't really think, that's so fake, blah, blah, blah. Just as a wrestling fan, you got to think about just how cool that really is. A guy curb stomped a guy on freaking cinder blocks. That's awesome. But going into Hardcore Justice, I really thought, it needs to be more hardcore than that match. And I know TNA could easily do it with their more PG-13, type of, TV. But I was thinking, it needs to be more hardcore than that match, than Ambrose versus Rollins, the main event for Raw. And honestly, I really think the first match only, the Bram versus Abyss, was the only match I thought that was actually more hardcore than Ambrose versus Rollins. The I Quit match was crap. I'm not even going to talk about that. Angelina Love versus Gail Kim was really good. And the spot where they did with the chair when Gail Kim did like a Samoan drop off the top rope onto the chair, that was awesome. The steel cage match was good, but it wasn't as hardcore as Ambrose and Rollins. Now, Bram versus Abyss, definitely, that was much more hardcore, but I was just kind of disappointed it wasn't really as hardcore as they were made out to be. But I'm not going to, complain about it. It was a good event, and I really enjoyed it. So, moving on, we had Bram versus Abyss in a Stairway to Janice match. This match was really crazy. There were some crazy spots. We saw, Abyss chokeslam Bram off the ladder. We saw both of them go smashing through barbed wire tables. 2 barbed wire tables were brought in, and it was crazy. It was a crazy match and really entertaining, and I really enjoyed it. We saw Bram get the win. They needed to go over the rules, though, I think, better. When Bram climbed up and grabbed Janice, it's a ladder. It's basically a ladder match for Janice. You don't know what Janice is? That's the 2x4 with nails sticking out of it. That's basically Abyss's girlfriend and Bram's Bram's mistress. The storyline's basically fighting over a foreign object, and that's just I really can't stand. We've seen a storyline over and over again, but Bram got the win. He grabbed Janice. If you grabbed Janice, that wasn't the win. As soon as you grabbed Janice, you could use it on your opponent, and then it was pinfall or submission. So after he grabbed Janice, he hit Abyss with it and got the win. And I don't like Bram's character. I really don't get the big deal about him, but he can do hardcore matches, and he is really intense and really good at hardcore matches. But I feel like if it's a normal match, I won't be that entertained by him. So we'll see where it goes. But right now, character I don't like, but he does do great in hardcore matches. So moving on, we saw EC3 basically blame Dixie Carter going through a table on his, buddy, or not his buddy, but his bodyguard, Rhino, which led to EC3 attacking Rhino, EC3 is a big guy. Ethan Carter III is a big guy, but I just can't buy him attacking Rhino. He punched him a few times, and Rhino went under the ring, the ropes, and was kind of like fleeing from the ring, like he was kind of scared of EC3. I just can't buy EC3 being scared of, or Rhino being scared of EC3. I just think that was kind of stupid. I do see a Rhino versus EC3 match, and I see EC3 going over, his streak continuing. So, moving on, we have the Hardy Boys. Hardy Boys came out. They called out Team 3D for this big idea they had. They had this big idea. Then 3D called out the Wolves, and that was great to see. We see that next week will be the start of many matches to come. It's going to be the first team to win 2 matches out of the trio, out of Team 3D versus the Hardys versus the Wolves. First team to win 2 will get to win the Tag Team Championship. So even if next week, Team 3D, let's just say Team 3D wins, they do not get the championships. They have to win 2 matches, and they get the thing. And here's the stipulation. Whoever wins the first match next week gets to pick the stipulation for the next match. So I'm going to make a prediction. I made it on my buddy WWE TNA 1152's channel. Go check him out. I did a review of Hardcore Justice with him. I'm predicting right now. Next week, I see Team 3D winning and then calling it a tables match for the next week. I see the Hardy Boys winning that match and then going on to picking the stipulation as a ladder match the next week. Then I see the Wolves winning that and saying full, Metal Mayhem, basically TNA's TLC match, and it finally ending there. This isn't going off spoilers. I know nothing. But, yeah, that's just my prediction because I see that happening. But big news, we have I believe 3 of those matches, and I know that's, you just said no spoilers, Daniel, but I believe 3 matches have been taped. Of course, next week's and the 2 after that, because I did see stipulations being added. You can't, I didn't see the winners of the matches, but I'm going to say, I saw the stipulation added, but it seems like the final match has not been taped, and here's where the, confusion goes in. Bully Ray has apparently, Wrestling Reports, 24wrestling.com, a lot of wrestling, dirt sheets have been reporting. Bully Ray at a live event held a meeting with his fellow wrestlers in the the locker room, and said he is not going to re-sign with TNA. Now this is like mind blowing because they've put him in such a big storyline. It's just so crazy that a big storyline like this, and then he's already leaving the company. You have the big storyline, and he's gone, and he's being inducted in the Hall of Fame. So that's another guy that's going to leave TNA that was inducted in the Hall of Fame. Sting being the first, and he left for the WWE. Bully Ray looks like he's about to leave. So this is crazy. I really don't know what's going to happen. Does this mean if Bully leaves, Devon's going to leave? And it just kind of sucks. Like a big guy, a great singles wrestler like Bully could possibly leave TNA. If I do receive, more word on that, I definitely will let you guys know. But, yeah, moving on. Bully Ray leaving TNA. That really sucks. And the main event was a 6 sides of steel cage. Rude. And it was Rude, Eric Young, Magnus, James Storm. What was the others? Let me think. Let me say it again. All right. Rude, EY, Austin Aries. That's another. Austin Aries, Magnus, James Storm, and can't remember the final guy. It was basically TNA's like best singles wrestlers. Like honestly, it was their best. There's all their great guys. Can't remember the 6th guy. I don't know why. But basically the match came when EY and Rude were leaving the cage. James Storm, that was it. EY and Bobby Roode are leaving the cage at the same time. They actually pause, look behind, and see that they're both neck and neck. So they race out, and they do that classic finish where they both drop to the floor at the same time. And so next week, I'm sure it's either going to be Rude versus EY to determine the #1 contender for Lashley, or maybe it's Lashley versus EY versus Rude in a triple threat. That'd be awesome to see. Kurt Angle makes the announcement next week. But, yeah, that's your report for Hardcore Justice. I really didn't talk about it. I Quit match was, like, awful. It was basically a submission match with both competitors really having no submission moves. Like, they don't have a finisher, they don't have, like, a sharpshooter or, like, figure 4 log. It was basically Anderson versus Samuel Shaw, and Anderson won with a really crappy armbar, and it was just like, wow, that looked like a normal move to tap out. But Hardcore Justice was entertaining, and I really enjoyed it. Now, match of the week, this is hard because I got to bring SummerSlam into consideration. You had great ones like Ambrose and Rollins Lumberjack match. You had Ambrose Rollins the following night. You had the Hard Brand versus Abyss. That was awesome. The NXT matches. Brock Lesnar versus Cena. I'm not going to give that match of the week because that was just a beatdown. But it's definitely hard. I haven't gone over this at all, but I'm going to have to pick, I think, either Ambrose and Rollins, but I can't decide which one was better, the Lumberjack match or the match after on Raw. But I will make final. I'm gonna go with Ambrose versus Rollins in a Lumberjack match. I think just the fact that it was like a Lumberjack match. That's before the match happened. You were like a Lumberjack match. That's really kind of boring. Lumberjack matches aren't known for being this great. Awesome thing. No one goes, oh, did you see that Lumberjack match? No one says that. But last Sunday at SummerSlam, Ambrose Rollins, they did a Lumberjack match that was really entertaining and awesome. They ran around the arena. I just love that they actually were fighting the Lumberjack match, the Lumberjack participants outside the ring. They were fighting them and stuff. I thought that was great to see. So I'm going to give that match of the week, Ambrose versus Rollins Lumberjack match at SummerSlam. I really enjoyed that match, and it was a lot of fun to watch. But, yeah, moving on to the final, minutes of the show. I have my kick-out segment. We're basically in, all this negativity in wrestling. I got to talk about the positives and why this week was such a great week. Now, starting now, you had SummerSlam. SummerSlam was really good. I really enjoyed it. You had Brock Lesnar, basically a guy like John Cena who, everyone complains. He never loses cleanly. He never gets beaten down. He always comes back and wins. This was like the internet's freaking dream. You had Brock Lesnar destroy John Cena. Now, I'm a John Cena fan. I got the shirt on right now, and I just think it was like their dream. Brock Lesnar beating down Cena, making him look like a jobber. So that was awesome to see. Ambrose versus Rollins, both nights were awesome. Hardcore Justice was awesome. I wouldn't say awesome, but it was great. The Brand versus the Abyss match, if you didn't watch that, definitely watch it. It was insane. I really enjoyed it. I know Loki versus Samoa Joe for the X Division Championship was hard-hitting action. They had such stiff kicks and stuff, and it was just a good wrestling league. I really enjoyed it. NXT was great. I think NXT is really picking up. When Steen, Kenta, and Devitt come in, oh man, NXT is going to be awesome. So, yeah, that's my kick out segment. I'm going to be ending the video off. Hopefully I didn't go too long, and, my eyesight was, like, kind of screwing up during that video. But, so, remembering next week I will be doing a Q&A on the show for episode 7. Leave your questions down in the comment section. I think either tomorrow or Monday I'll make the Q&A announcement video if nobody watched all the way to the end or didn't hear at the beginning. But yeah, so like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow me on Twitter at 7WRocks. And thank you for watching. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch my show. I really enjoy doing it. I love talking wrestling. And yeah, thanks for watching. And as always, have a nice day. Thanks, guys.